We're not even 30 seconds into this review, and Muha is already losing it.
I can't even think of like a good pun. Like it's all just terrible. Blue whales, like come on. There's like blue people with whales, blue cat people, blue cat people that like water. Like where are we going with this? Like
They're all
how
very jellical.
it's
There we go. There's the intro.
jellyfishical. I don't know. Um
Just gonna make that rambling just
There's
section. That is the
I'm
intro.
I don't know, man. I don't have it in me anymore. I'm just like this is
I'm
just
not even kidding. That is gonna be the intro. I've already decided.
yeah, no, it works. It works. There's a certain level of our shit where sometimes we're just like just a snapshot of our exasperated insanity, you know,
Yeah,
like
pretty much. And I feel like that's a good way to end the year. Uh,
yeah, I mean, hang on. No, we got one final beautiful W in before the end of the year.
like there's
Uh
still some like we do what we do every year, which is a few reviews I got to catch up on before the where we officially tally everything up uh,
sure.
and do all that logistical stuff. But yeah, as far as like official reviews of the year, this will technically be the last one.
Oh
Uh,
damn. No, it was I was thinking of the Andrew Tate news yesterday.
yes.
That was fucking amazing. Some of the best.
Amazing. I was sitting there with popcorn, just
I was sitting there with pizza.
oh, so good, so good.
uh,
That
and
was
what
just
was it like? Greta Thunberg like actually tweeted and she's like, "This is what happens when you don't recycle your pizza boxes."
yep.
Like,
I saw that too. It was like,
oh, the
man,
memes are spicy. The memes are spicy. They're good.
Greta is gonna kill it as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, did you also see that the organization that nabbed him for about human trafficking is actually the acronym is Greta?
I saw that. Yeah,
It's amazing. Name a
karma
more
is a bitch.
iconic like team up like this. But yeah, no, that was that bit definitely made my day very happy yesterday. That was a good time.
Uh,
Um,
anyway, Blue
yeah,
People.
blue
Uh,
people
Avatar 2, which is the sequel, what, 10, 15 years in the
sequel
making?
to Avatar. Avatar 2, the sequel to Avatar.
That was leading into a talk about the time lapse, asshole.
Let's see. It's 13 years, yeah.
Yeah, 13 years. Okay.
2009.
Now I feel like we need to talk about just where we were at, like just when the first movie came out, because it was a huge deal when it came out when we were younger. And it's one of those movies that I remember I really, really liked when I first saw it, but that did not just age well with time.
I mean,
As far as spectacle, it's still great. It's more just the actual plot and everything else just gets a little redundant when you just see a lot more movies.
I don't know,
Um,
man. I feel like at the time I already knew that this is like Fern Gully slash Dances with Wolves slash
it,
like Pocahontas. Like it's that whole white savior with the natives kind of deal.
it
Like,
took me longer to make that connection. But anyway, so like one of those movies, like my opinion of Avatar now is like it's perfectly fine. Which honestly is kind of how I feel about this movie. There's some fun bits, there's some stupid as fuck bits. The animation is gorgeous. I really enjoyed the 3D on this, although it gave me a fucking headache for like an hour after I saw it.
oh really? Damn, dude.
Uh yeah, it did for me.
Um,
But then again,
well,
I also haven't like sat down with 3D movies in like a solid like 2 years. So
dude, I miss 3D movies. I miss my 3D TV. That was amazing. My 3D TV had a function in it where you could take an existing image, like existing stuff that's not 3D, and convert it to 3D
that's pretty cool.
using AI in the TV. So I got to play like BioShock Infinite in 3D.
I'm surprised you got rid of it. Like I thought I would
It
have
was
kept.
55 inches. It weighed like 100 pounds and it was 1080p. And like, I just wanted to upgrade to 4K at one point and get a bigger TV. So
Yeah.
there are 3D TVs that are 4K and bigger, but they're like $7,000. It's obscene.
Jesus.
But no, I really liked that movie. I mean, I really like that TV, and I really actually enjoyed 3D. I think that the reason that a lot of people didn't like 3D, aside from the fact that it was implemented in a way that gave them headaches, is the fact that a lot of movies approached it very gimmicky.
Yeah.
Like old school carnival rides, like
Or my
you
blade.
remember those Disney that theater that Disney has, which has like the 3D glasses and like the 4D stuff where they have like wind blast at you and like
Yeah.
different things to go with it. And
I mean, I
it
worked at
really
one for about a year.
Oh, damn, I didn't know that.
It's the Mass Effect ride they have.
Oh, damn. No, I was thinking like the whole like Michael Jackson thing that they had for a while. It was a long time ago. Uh, like sometime in the 90s before it was like really unacceptable to be okay with Michael Jackson. Um, but like it's just gimmicky, you know. There's a whole thing like even the Saw 3D movie. It's deliberately had moments where like they throw guts at the camera and stuff. It's just super
Yeah.
gimmicky. What I loved about Avatar was that it didn't it didn't make the 3D super gimmicky,
No.
but it also really understood that it was a 3D movie, so it used a lot of situations where it enhanced the immersion. Like if you had shots of it looking into forest foliage, the 3D of the leaves laying over each other and everything was really immersive. And even things as simple as I still remember a moment that really struck me early was when they were having the initial briefing for the mission
Yeah.
where it's just looking down the ship and the rows of people sitting there, and it's not obnoxiously 3D, but it really does give a sense of space to the room. And I really appreciated that about Avatar. It was a 3D movie that felt like it took advantage of 3D without being like super obnoxious and amateurish about it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think this movie succeeded in the same way. I love that they insisted on still having it in 3D.
Yeah. I
And
yeah, sorry, God.
huh?
Never mind. Finish your thought.
What I did not like about the way that it was presented, which was really weird to me, and you said you didn't even notice, which is also strange to me because I feel like it was super noticeable. But the the frame rate in the
Mhm.
showing that I was in was bizarre. Like you know, like they did the whole Lord of the Rings thing where they like had it in 48 frames per
Oh
second
yeah.
for
Yeah.
a whole bunch of it,
The Hobbit.
right?
Yeah.
So for the Hobbit movies. And I didn't want to go to see those because sometimes seeing that stuff like that gives me motion sickness.
Yeah.
Here I didn't have that problem, and I think it's because I've gotten more used to it over time with like video games.
Mhm.
Um, but if you play video games and you're used to like 60 frames per second, like if you play any PS5 game or
Yeah.
even, Xbox Series X game and you have the setting where you can go performance or resolution, right?
Yeah.
Have you swapped between those and seen the difference in how it feels to play it?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So it's very clear when there's a higher frame rate going on in those situations.
Yeah.
And the weird thing for me was even though this was an extremely high fidelity film, like incredible visuals, when it was going at the higher frame rate, it felt more like a video game. It felt more digital, artificial because it was at the higher frame rate and it really just felt like a really good video game cutscene.
See, like I did get that vibe from it, but I actually kind of enjoyed that.
Well, but
Um,
here's the thing about that. It's inconsistent.
See, I didn't know this inconsistency.
I
I
noticed
believe
it.
it was there.
Dude, it was crazy because sometimes it went at the standard 24 frames per second. Sometimes it went twice that. Sometimes it went like half that. There were parts where the frame rate was choppy and lower, like they didn't render it completely. And what was weird is that it's between shots. So sometimes you'll switch between all three of them in the space of 15 seconds. It was really disorienting and it really fucked up my immersion. And I was kind of pissed off about it. I was like, why is this not like why I like between Weta and James Cameron? I know you guys have a higher standard of quality than this. Why is this like this?
Yeah, see, I didn't
Um,
catch that. I think that, but I would also blame that largely on just my brain trying to keep up with the 3D. Because
give me 2 seconds. My coffee's here.
oh, okay, I will pause. Okay. But yeah, I largely was bringing the fact that I didn't notice the frame rate difference, mostly just that when I put the 3D glasses and those fucking numbers are flying in my face, my brain was like, "Whoa, what the shit is happening?"
Oh,
And
for
I
IMAX?
yeah, I saw like in the faux IMAX, like in Mercado.
Oh, I mean, it's technically IMAX.
Yeah,
I honestly, after seeing it in the normal Dolby, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to go see this in the big IMAX because
yeah,
this
I
is
believe it like probably looks spectacular there.
yeah,
But I think it's more like
I this is a this is an even more visually stunning movie than the first one was when it came out.
I agree. It's honestly like as far as 3D movies I've seen, because I remember when 3D was fucking everywhere for a while, and I saw a lot of movies in 3D. The only
Yeah.
ones I remember seeing that really stood out to me were like How to Train Your Dragon, um, What?
No, I'm sorry. I just remember I saw fucking Chicken Little in 3D.
Oh my god.
You remember Chicken Little?
I do.
The fucking Disney movie that
Yeah,
no
that was a
one
weird one.
fucking remembers. They made a movie out of Chicken Little. I saw that shit in 3D. I don't know why. I was definitely a full-blown like young adult at that point. I don't know why I went to see Chicken Little in 3D, but I did. So that's a thing that's in my memory.
See, like I remember seeing like the first How I Train Your Dragon with my dad and being really blown away with the 3D and now because that was really good 3D. And like How to Train Your Dragon, Doctor Strange, the first Avatar, and like Avatar 2 are the only ones I can really remember like think were actually like really good 3D movies.
Doctor Strange in 3D was one of the coolest
Awesome.
fucking experiences I had it on 3D Blu-ray when I had the 3D TV, and I still have the Blu-ray. I just don't have the TV. But I got to see it in the big IMAX in 3D.
Nice.
That was fucking mind-blowing.
Like Doctor Strange, I didn't see 3D when it first came out. I made a point to go see it when they re-released it in 3D.
Same. That's when I saw it.
So I was guys like, okay, I missed out the first time. I have to see it this time because it just sounds like a really cool experience, and it was.
Yeah, I was kind of marveled out when it came out the first time. So
yeah, which is fair.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we got this movie, which honestly might have some of the best 3D I've ever seen. And it's oh, okay, this is where all the money went. Into
I mean, you got to pay Weta. You got to pay Weta.
I mean, like the environments are gorgeous, the characters are greatly rendered, frame rate issues aside. Like all the designs of all the different like robots and animals and environments all look fucking fantastic in a way that only James Cameron can do. The writing definitely leaves a lot to be desired, but you know, that's
let's be real. Let's be real. James Cameron has never been like a stellar writer.
Yeah,
he's a good writer in the way that he takes like standard economic blockbuster style writing where the characters' relationships and emotions are just conveyed in a very efficient way and uses them to build relatively effective storytelling blocks.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna feel like some deep character connection with any of these people unless you specifically share certain character traits with these specific characters. Like I literally know someone who is super passionate about marine biology and was kind of like the weirdo outcast when they were a teenager. Like,
yeah,
that's a character that they're going to relate with, and that's fine. That's cool. But I think that overall it at least did a good enough job with the characters and their performances to at least make you care about them in a way that makes the story effective.
Yeah, totally. And like I pretty much agree with that. That being said, have you ever heard about what James Cameron was originally hired to do for Spider-Man back in the day?
No.
This is before Sam Raimi took the reins, but like way before then, he was commissioned to write a script for Spider-Man, and he was just trying to get a paycheck. It was super clear that he just did not give a shit. It was supposed to have Leonardo DiCaprio as Spider-Man, and it was gonna have Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dr. Octopus, and his catchphrase is gonna be "Okie dokie." I'm not kidding. You can look this up.
I want to see this. I want to see this so bad. What was it? No, someone, I was on YouTube the other day and someone said, or no, I was on Twitter and someone said that originally the casting for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, like they were gonna cast Nicolas Cage as Aragorn.
Fuck yeah.
And they were trying to get fucking James Corden as Samwise Gamgee.
Oh no, that would have been awful.
Who was the other one? There was one more fucking character.
I know they're trying to get oh god, James Bond, the original.
Daniel Craig?
No, the original. Sean Connery as Gandalf. What's the other
See, here's the thing. I want to see people who do good impressions work with people who do good deepfakes and just make like a few scenes from the original with like the faces just put back onto them. And then just have the voice actors. I would pay for this. I would not be able to pay enough to make it happen, but I would 100% pay to figure out how to make this work just for an entertainment factor. Like that sounds incredible. I would love that.
And the funny part is the only reason Sean Connery didn't do it is he just did not understand it, was his words. Like it's like I don't get this, so I'm not gonna do it.
Jake Gyllenhaal auditioned to be Frodo. Jake Gyllenhaal and James Corden.
Oh my god.
Who the fuck would what was it? There was someone joking about like, what if you had Lord of the Rings but just replaced Gollum with like Steve-O? Like,
I was gonna say replace make Gollum Willem Dafoe. I would pay to see that.
oh yeah, that would be great. See, we gotta the technology exists. We just gotta have the commitment, and we do not. So it won't happen. But just imagine your brain TV. Like put
we
that
have done so much to not talk about Avatar 2.
No. It's just it's fun. So anyway, so James Cameron, look, go back and watch Terminator 2.
Oh
It's
yeah, there's a ton.
Incredible movie.
Film.
It's an incredible movie. It does not have a lot of character depth.
It does not.
But it does very well at doing what it needs to give you characters that feel real enough. They feel genuine, and you get good performances out of the actors, which makes it work. And I think that that's where we were talking earlier about Spielberg, and he comes from that era of film where Spielberg was kind of like the holy grail of filmmaking. And I think that there was a lot about when Spielberg basically invented the blockbuster and turned this into a whole new language of film where, they have certain ways that they convey character emotions and beats and stuff. And that's something that I actually find interesting between different Marvel movies too. Like seeing where they fall on that line, because all of them kind of fall in that spectrum, but some of them do it very effectively and other ones don't. Which is part of my whole debate with you about like Civil War and stuff. Yeah. But like, that's the thing. It works for some people it doesn't. But I think that here, James Cameron did a really good job with just being really fucking efficient, which is a weird thing to say about a 3+ hour movie.
I mean, you definitely could cut some stuff for sure. But that being said, like,
I disagree.
For all the spectacle that is.
Oh, Michael, I would sit there for another hour.
I would sit there for I have other shit to do today.
No. Because here's the thing. You put aside the day and you go and you just watch this giant fucking $1 billion aquarium. Like, it's fine. Take an edible. Like, just
okay. That might get me in a seat for 4 hours.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but more often than not, I'm like, I got other shit to do today. I want to go to bed at some. I do, as a matter of fact.
Michael, you 100% games. You can totally spare time to watch.
I don't even like, dude. I've been getting over COVID and a bunch of other shit today. I don't have enough energy for a 4-hour fucking film. How dare you imply otherwise? So I got weirdly.
I'm not actually really here debating the validity of how you spend your spare time, Michael. I'm just saying. Look, I 100%. I still have not watched The Godfather Part 2.
Okay, even I've seen that one.
But here's the thing: I saw Dune like 14 times in theaters. So who am I to fucking talk? There's just like, what do you feel like doing for the day? And what was it? I saw a tweet which said, very fucking real thing, and they said, after being in quarantine for 2 years, I think the one thing I've learned that lack of time is not the thing stopping me from reading books. I was like, oh,
that's fair.
Yeah,
See, I actually do read. I enjoy reading. Anyway, I can do that in my bedroom though. I don't have to go out to a theater or other people to go do that. I think that's really the big line that I
characters are fine. The characters are fine.
But anyway,
some of them are really annoying. I don't understand how the little sister keeps being dragged along on these adventures when, like,
oh my god, the little kid, like the
little sister is just kind of like, why are you here? Why?
Like, there's literally a line of
no better.
Like, there's literally a line of dialogue. She's like, I can't believe I got captured again.
No, it's like, I can't believe I'm tied up. Like, she gets freed and then immediately caught again, and she's like, God damn it! Honestly, it was pretty funny. But and I know weird little comedy beats. I do appreciate that.
I know you didn't catch this, but this is like you didn't notice at all, but I couldn't keep noticing, and it drove me insane.
Yeah.
Was the fact that one of Jake Sully's daughters, not adopted daughter, is
the daughter of Sigourney Weaver's original character from the other one, and Sigourney Weaver voices her as well.
No, not voices. She also did the mocap. So
Okay, sure.
which again, not that big of a deal, but it's more like I kept hearing this voice of a 74-year-old actress come out of a 14-year-old child, and
Honestly, I didn't notice it at all, which is
I
weird to me.
couldn't stop
I couldn't.
noticing. Now it took
But
me out of every moment she was
also,
in.
Michael, we need to respect the filmmakers. It's not motion capture, it's performance capture.
Okay, that I feel like that's sure. You know what? I don't have time. I don't have the energy to argue this.
Well, they
Magical thing.
engineered new technology to be able to capture the performances better. And motion, it's more than motion, it's performance.
You know, I was kind of surprised it got sidelined in this movie. Was Zoe Saldana's character from the first movie? Did you get that vibe too? Like she was just kind of like pushed to the side for a good chunk of the film.
You mean Nateri?
I couldn't remember their names, and I'm not gonna try.
The wife, the mom?
Yes, the mom.
Not really, no.
You don't think so? Because it felt like that way to me.
I mean, I think that there was more of a focus on the kids, but I also feel like there was so much going on at all times that it kind of gave equal representation to everybody.
I don't know. Like I felt like of the two, like Jake obviously got more of the the exposure.
I also feel like he wasn't as prominent as the kids. I feel
Really,
like
because
more focused on the kids.
I felt like he was pretty prominent in relation to the kids.
He was prominent in the sense that he had to be like, I need to protect my family,
Yeah.
like doing his whole, Dominic Toretto kind of fucking deal, and like, and that was pretty much it. Like his entire character here was just like, I've caused these problems. This is my fault. I brought them here. Oh, my family. Oh, my kids. Oh, this is my fault. I should be the one to. No, you stay here. This is on me. I'm a man. I'm a Marine. Oh, I'm gonna fight. Like, oh, just like it was very one dimensional and economic.
Mm-hmm.
But when you had the kids were the ones that got more screen time. They got more like character development, which makes sense because they weren't in the last movie.
Yeah.
You already know who these fucking people are from the last movie. The kids are the new ones. Check them out. Hang out. Like,
Sure.
And I think that that's really that's another thing I was thinking about when I was like, especially during Act 1 in the movie. I was like, I was seriously thinking this while watching it. I was like, one of the things about the first entry of any kind of series of movies or trilogy or whatever is that the first entry has this sense of wonder as it introduces you to a new world, or if it's in a new world, or at the very least it's introducing you to these characters. Like, I've had this feeling about Batman, like Nolan's Batman trilogy, for a while, where Batman Begins is all about Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And it does so much character development with him that in The Dark Knight, Batman is almost like a side character.
Yeah.
He's just there to do things. Like, there's no actual character with him. He's just kind of, tones. Like, and that's what it really feels like here when it comes to the parents. Like, Neytiri is the mom, and Jake Sully is the protective dad. And, he has dad moments, and that's really it. The kids are the ones that get actual character development.
Yeah, I agree.
And then there's Spider, who is one of the most frustrating fucking characters I've seen in a movie in a while.
I fucking hated Spider.
No, wait, the main character of Smile, but I just straight up gave up on her like immediately. So that's fine.
I do gotta ask, as far as the kids go, were you also playing a game of, okay, which one of you is gonna bite it?
Yeah, I was like, there's no way all of these kids survive.
And we're like,
they're not gonna kill the baby.
Now they're gonna kill the baby.
Kiri, because she's got like she's like a nature
powers.
hippie person.
Yeah.
Unless they're gonna have her die and merge with the ocean and like just be a character in the ocean, like controlling the ocean or something, which just feels a little too god tier for her, at least at this stage. Maybe in the fourth movie or something. But I read something which I fully agree with, is that I do believe that this is a series that is not above killing any of its characters.
Oh yeah, I
like it definitely is willing to put those stakes up there because they're so grim.
Yeah, like there are some, like kind of like the first movie. There's definitely those. Hey, here is we're just gonna do like pseudo genocide on these people, and that's gonna be the all is lost moment. Say what you will about that.
Let's get to that later because I have feelings.
Fair.
And honestly, in this one, I feel like it was a little more egregious than it was in the first one.
You think so? I don't know. I haven't watched
Maybe
the first
it's
one
just
in a
been so long
time.
since I watched it, but there's definitely like, in the first one, it was the military attacking their home.
Hmm.
And it had that like larger war scale thing. And at the end, they actually succeed in taking down the ancestral tree, which is horrifying. And also just kind of, I don't know how to put this in a way that makes sense, because it's imaginary CG blue cat people on a space planet that doesn't exist. But I was kind of offended by the fact that Cameron decided to actually take down the ancestral tree.
I mean,
Like,
like
have
it's a
them be
clear
successful.
metaphor. So like I think you can still you can get offended for that because of it could be
Yeah.
arguably not a great representation of real people.
I
Um,
mean, on one hand, you could argue about the realism of the fact that the colonizers won and took their most precious things from them, which is true in
yeah.
hundreds of fucking real life situations. But um on the other side, like having it be like emotional misery porn
Hmm.
to serve the heart tugging moment of your film feels weirdly exploitative of an imaginary people. So I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't know how to put
I
that.
get what you mean though. In
If
that like it's
anything, you could say it speaks to the efficacy of the fact that he really made these feel like real people to me. I
it's
don't know.
I guess like it's not I feel like the Navi in general kind of walk a fine line between just like stereotypical was the word that's coming to mind for me. Uh
I've actually watched videos on this where they
like
talked
okay.
about how they went about doing this, and like even down to the soundtrack. It's honestly really impressive. But like the way that they approached it was literally to look at dozens of different indigenous cultures across the world
Yeah.
and kind of just like get an idea of themes between them and certain concepts between them, and then mix those ideas together in a way that wasn't specifically representative of one or the other. They really
Yeah.
just wanted it to be something that was analogous and ambiguous to all of it without specifically calling to the rituals or traditional garb or anything of any of those specific cultures. And that came down to the soundtrack,
Hmm.
because the person making the soundtrack, I forget his name, like Jack something, um but he actually wanted to make sure that the instruments and vocalizations that he used were not from one specific place. He wanted to do the
Hmm.
same thing with kind of pulling from a bunch of different places and finding the parallel concepts and where they matched up and creating his own stuff that lined up with those things without actually being specifically any of those things. And doing that from a visual design, costuming perspective is one thing, but from a music perspective, that's crazy. That's kind of awesome.
That is a good
Um,
point. Yeah. Mm.
it's a lot of work to do, and it's still potentially problematic depending on your feelings on those things. But if you're gonna do something like that, I really do think that that's the only way that you can really do it.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
like
or
granted, I'm
at
like
least
the
the
cis
best
white,
way.
like I'm the cis white dude. So that's one of the things like it doesn't feel like it's up to me to like say what it should how you should or shouldn't feel about it. So I was like,
Sure.
I'm gonna leave that to smarter people than I.
Yeah.
But
And
I
of course,
just
the whole
know
white
that
savior idea, like,
as is, it works perfectly fine in the context of the film.
yeah.
I also will say, like, and this is this is not a sentence I thought I would ever say, because this is an actor that kind of reached his peak in and that chief like buff white dude era of the early 2000s. But I kind of miss Sam Worthington. I didn't think I would ever say that, but honestly,
He was all right. Yeah.
he
It's
was.
still
He's
weird
not
to
like
hear him speaking with like a normal kind of like American Northeastern accent in the middle of all these fucking aliens,
yeah,
but
no, like, and I'm not saying he's great. Like, he was never like, oh my god, he's amazing. But at the
yeah.
same time, I was like, kind of nice to see him back. Good for him. That's kind of how it felt to me.
I, I
Um,
I do appreciate the I don't know that there was a certain controversy leading up to this movie with how James Cameron like framed his perspective on the Lakota people. Um, and I understand that grievance, and I understand that, he's kind of problematic in certain ways, but I'm still kind of against the concept of really just full on canceling somebody completely because they have a problematic perspective or two.
it also
I
depends on what that is. Uh,
Huh?
It also depends on what that is.
Yes, and it's this is a kind of thing you got to be careful about when talking about sometimes. But as someone who is not white, who deals with a lot of white people, um, white people gonna white. It's just something that's gonna happen. There are gonna be moments of ignorance, sometimes well intentioned. I honestly haven't seen if he's owned those statements or like apologized for them or whatever. But bottom line is, in my mind, James Cameron, out of all people in the world, um, is actually trying.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You
like,
know,
say what you will, his intentions are good.
his intentions are good and he's making the efforts and he's actually, who else is making movies on this scale with this budget that are tackling concepts of, resource exploitation and colonialism and like this is the kind of themes that are not really covered in film, especially by white people, especially by high profile white people who get hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars to make their movies. So,
And again, say what you will, but I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go and finish your thought.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and say what you will, but James Cameron, at the very least, will put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
Like again, he has gone literally to as deep in the ocean as you can go without building a better submarine.
No, he built a better submarine, Michael. Remember? He built a better submarine. He worked with scientists to engineer new technology to
yeah,
allow
exactly.
him to
So
dive
that's what I
deeper on
mean,
his
though.
own. Like,
That's what I mean, though. Like, he'll still put this money where his mouth is. Like, all right, I
and new
believe
cameras,
environmentalism. I'm actually going to do something to support it.
new cameras to be able to film that deep.
Yeah,
And shit like that. And so that's I appreciate James Cameron as a person, even if he's not, perfect. He's definitely not perfect. He's an old white guy doing his best. But bottom line, he's still better than like
he is, and
most other fucking people in his position. So
like,
also I really appreciated back when he put out the first Avatar and someone did an interview with him. Like, he has no fucks to give. He has no fucks.
he really doesn't.
An unashamed fucking environmentalist. And someone said some of the ways that the story is told and concepts are conveyed in Avatar feel like an endorsement of eco-terrorism. And are you kind of worried about what eco-terrorism is, right?
I'm familiar with the concept. Yes.
Okay, well, for anyone who doesn't know, eco-terrorism is when like hippies go and do things like blow up factories and power plants and like take down things that are exploiting the natural world and harming it. So basically terrorism against our exploitation of the world and so of the earth. And this person asks James Cameron, like, are you worried that this is like kind of coming across as an endorsement of eco-terrorism? And his answer was, no joke, straight up. He said, oh no, absolutely, I love eco-terrorism, I fully support it. That is fucking base, dude. That is so I'm on board with that. That's
fair.
I stan a fucking dude who just is willing to take as hard of a stance against the kind of shit that's destroying our planet for our kids and our grandkids and like us, as the fucking corporate giants take against like not giving a fuck about the rest of the world and just caring about money over all else. Like, I have no. We need more people like James Cameron, is what I'm saying.
See, before you get, I just want to get points out because say what you will about South Park, and I've watched it in a few years. I kind of stopped watching it a while ago, but
yeah,
one thing I liked about the James Cameron episode in particular was that it's like, yeah, he's an arrogant fuck, but he still fucking did it. So, like, say what you will about him as a person, he's still doing way more than the rest of us. So maybe we just kind of let that go and let him do his thing.
Yeah. What was it? There was oh shit, I lost it. Nah, whatever. Oh yeah, no. When the Avatar Blu-ray and stuff came out, and there were no trailers on it, and someone asked him about that, and he's like, "Well, I have a deal going on with Fox. Whenever one of my movies makes them more than $1 billion, they don't put their fucking trailers on my Blu-rays. They don't get to put their trailers onto my DVDs." And I was like, "That's also fucking based. Like, that's." I appreciate James Cameron as a filmmaker. Also, if you kind of look back, like, even back to if you're talking about like Terminator 2 and stuff, kind of not really like it was less problematic than a lot of its ilk at the time. I do appreciate him giving us, and I know that it was kind of a theme with different movies, like Ridley Scott gave us Sigourney Weaver and stuff, and like you did have your kind of thread of badass women, but Linda Hamilton, iconic.
Oh yeah.
Like fucking, if you're talking about a badass female action lead back in the fucking early 90s, I really appreciate those fucking movies.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah,
Like, and also it's very clear James Cameron has a type. Uh, and hey, no judgment. Again, nothing but respect there.
I mean, no disagreement. Like,
I see the
but
appeal.
yeah,
I get it.
in any case, so James Cameron controversy, that's my feelings on it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that what he did was okay. I'm saying that overall, as a person,
this is
I'm
well
willing
taken.
to still accept him and be okay with him generally. I'm
Yeah.
not at the point where I'm willing to cancel him all the way or something.
I don't think there's really even a
Um,
big call for that. Not that
huh?
I've seen. Like I don't even think there's like that big of a
There
call.
have been people talking about how they should not watch Avatar because of James Cameron's statements on the Lakota tribe and everything. And
Sure, but that's not
um,
really a like a conversation that's got any kind of momentum that I've
well,
seen.
that's the thing. I'm not sure how much of this momentum is coming from, you know, people with actual connections to indigenous stuff versus people who are actually like just also white saviors
Probably just a mix of
just
both, as usually
looking
is.
for something. So I don't want to get too deep into it because I'm honestly tired of controversies like this when there's really a lot more important things to worry about
I agree.
than what
Um,
something insensitive someone said that isn't actively harmful.
yeah.
Um,
But back to the movie. And I
yeah.
do want to talk about one thing. I am glad that came back from the first movie. And this isn't a spoiler. He did a press tour. Is like I'm very happy to see Stephen Lang back.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's like in the first 10 minutes of the movie, right?
Yes, but like
So
stuff like anytime he's a villain, I'm on board for it. So I was like, all right, cool, he's here. He's a cat person now.
he's
Sure.
very intriguing. He's very intriguing as an actor. I do appreciate the
Dude's got
grit that he brings to it. And honestly, I know that the movie technically takes place like over 10 years after the first one did,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I'm surprised at how little it looks like everyone has aged.
Yeah, right.
Like all the actual human characters that are in there are just, still very much
They're fine.
um but then okay, so overall, the movie itself, I had a weird experience, and I think I was still just getting disoriented by the frame rate switches.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was strange seeing the graphics in the forest because I felt like it was higher contrast and a little shinier in a weird way. And it
Mm.
felt a lot like when you switch to the next generation of a video game console, and instead of having, like, say you have a game that comes out on both the PS5 and the PS4,
Yeah.
right? The PS5 version is not necessarily actually um much higher in terms of like graphics so much as like they
Gloss.
aren't designed that much more deeply, but it's sharper and there's better lighting, I guess. It's shinier in a
Yeah.
weird way. You know what I mean? Like you
I
remember when the 360 and the PS3 first came out and all the
Oh,
games
yeah.
that came out on both consoles like just had a lot more bloom and brown on the next gen?
Yep. No,
It
I
feels
remember.
like that. It feels like there's just more lighting effects and shininess and stuff. But they still, if you watch videos from special effects artists like the Collider Digital guys, or the Collider crew, like they talk about the really specific tiny details that sell that stuff, like on the bottom eyelid,
Mhm.
that little like the water line on your bottom eyelid, and the way that light refracts through that thin layer of skin, like that is such a difficult, detailed thing to get right, and they got it right. Like they went that deep with the stuff to make sure that tiny details on the face were really represented properly.
Yeah.
But when for me, where it really just started to shine was when they got to the water.
Oh yeah. Like, and
Because
I'm
holy
also a
shit,
big
can we
like
talk about the water for a minute?
Like, look, the aquarium is one of my favorite places to go. If I go to a new location, I'm gonna see if there's an aquarium. Like, if I'm going on vacation somewhere, I'm gonna see if there's an aquarium nearby. So, like, anything with oceanic life or just the ocean in general, I'm 100% down for. So you can bet your ass when we finally got to the water village and it's got all the oceans and the fish and
Yeah, when they first dive in,
like the aquatic life and all that stuff. I'm sitting there like, ooh, which is exactly what you should be doing.
yeah, that's really for me where I was like, okay, I can sit here for hours now.
Like if that was just a screensaver with 3D glasses, I'd probably be in front of that for a while.
That's fine. Because seriously, when they go back into when they have the credits roll and it's just like idle shots of the camera wandering through the ocean and like it looks fucking real.
Yeah.
It looks real. If all the fucking aquatic wildlife wandering around wasn't clearly like weird imaginary alien wildlife, it looks real. And even then, the alien fish look real.
Yeah.
It's just this weird moment that you're looking, you're like, that's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. But it looks real. Like it's such a weird feeling because you know that feeling you get when you look at the texture of like a jellyfish and the light going through a jellyfish.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to get right.
Yeah.
And they do that with different creatures and like the coral. And I remember watching a video about how hard it is to get the
waves.
You know, the shimmer of light hitting the seafloor through the surface. The way to normally do that is just to have like a texture map that goes off of everything and just overlay that onto everything. But to actually have computers calculate the genuine light refraction through the surface is so processor intensive. I feel like they definitely did that here.
And like this is where I believe like probably all the new tech they made for this movie probably came into play.
Yeah. No, Weta actually has multiple new patents on just rendering water. Weta, as they have been doing for 20 fucking years now, somehow are still continuing to change the game when it comes to visual effects and just continuing to develop new, crazy, interesting things. And there's still things where I don't know that Weta worked on them, and then I look back at it and I hear that they worked on it, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like Alita Battle Angel.
Oh, yep.
That was Weta. And of course, that's why I felt like the city of Teferis came alive and really felt like Teferis from the comics. Like that's Weta. They're really good at that. And the depths to which they went, no pun intended, to make this look right, from the animation to the lighting to the actual modeling, just the fidelity of the imagery underwater, the hair physics.
Yep.
Everything, fabric, everything under the water is genuinely mind-blowing. Like you can just sit there and watch that. That alone is worth seeing this on the big screen in 3D.
Honestly, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's why I said, like, you know, guys, like, say what you will about the story. It's an Avatar movie. You know what you're getting yourself into.
It's basic bitch writing. Let's be real.
Yeah. It is kind of worth it just for the animation. Because again, especially with 3D, because the 3D and the underwater effects really just like it goes together like chocolate and peanut butter.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Act 1 of this movie is very much just establishing shit. And believe me, there is some dumb fuck shit in this movie.
Oh,
there's some stupid, silly shit in this movie. Like, there are whales that know sign language. Humans, or not humans, Na'vi sign language. For some reason, they just know it and can communicate. And then at one point, when you get to the point where you can talk to the ocean, apparently the whales just have subtitles now. So you have the Na'vi doing sign language the whales somehow understand, and the whales will be like, and it'll have subtitles, and you're like, okay, this is fucking stupid. But whatever, just roll with it. It's what the movie's doing. Just either you make peace with it or you don't. I was able to think it's stupid as hell and also just make peace with the fact that this is a stupid fucking movie in a lot of ways. But just embrace it. It's no dumber than a lot of the shit that you've just gone with for, like, I don't know, any sci-fi movie or Marvel movie or fantasy movie. Like, it's
exactly what I'm just kind of like,
hold this to a higher standard in that sense. That's not where we're holding Avatar to a higher standard. It's
like,
visual.
Look, I have shelves of comics. Like, at the same time, like, I think the joke I made to you, and we just kind of just adopted it, where it's like, Sure, he can talk to whales. That's whale bro now.
Oh yeah, no, there's one whale in particular. That's whale bro.
That's
We
whale
love
bro.
whale bro.
Whale bro is cool. We don't talk shit about whale bro.
Yeah, whale bro's a good dude. Yeah, whale bro's chill.
And it's kind of like so like whenever some people like that doesn't make sense or anything like, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. It's fine.
You're on an alien planet with giant blue cat people who can cyclically connect their hair to animals and also to each other for sex, which has a really weird fucking connotation when you think about it.
Oh,
And
I chose
especially
not
when
to.
they're trying to tame animals that are not necessarily tame just yet, it feels like they're raping wildlife. And it's just like, let's
Well, that
just
took a turn there.
I've thought that since the first one. Like when they're trying to tame those dragons that want nothing to do with them, I'm like, wait, you're telling me you connect your hair tails for sex, but you connect your hair tails to animals, and also you connect your hair tails to unwilling animals.
Although, can we just talk about Stephen Lang just punched one in the face?
Yeah, fucking dude punched a dragon. Like that shit was hilarious. And we were like, it was really funny because it also speaks to the difference. Like, you know, Jake Sully took the approach of like trying to actually talk the way that you see, good horse tamers like
Yeah.
talk to a wild buck. Just like, hang on, it's chill.
Yeah.
We're okay. Whoa, okay, hang on. No, we're still good. We're still good. I'm not. This dude literally walks up and he's like, oh, fuck this.
Fucking love Stephen Lang.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so hilarious. I laughed.
Oh no, I did too. But yeah, like no, it's kind of like when people start like bitching and moaning about Star Wars and how it lacks like proper continuity or cohesion and stuff like that. It's like, guys, it's a series about space wizards for children.
No. I refuse to enter. I refuse to give that excuse any credence because there's a line, and that was crossed with Rise of Skywalker. Okay, like
I still stand that as a general statement for the franchise. That does not mean
the
all
franchise in general. Okay,
like I'm not saying that excuses every entry.
I know. I'm just saying there's a line to where that stops working.
Sure, but I'm talking about
this
people
movie
that
does not cross that line.
Sure, I'm just saying like for people who just like those morons online that say like, well, in this particular thing, this me. It's like shut the fuck up, nerd.
Dude, did you see? There was a guy who was so mad about Toy Story 4.
Oh,
he's got like a 4-part series of videos, and each one is like over an hour and a half long about how the Pixar creators are emotionally abusing us. Like straight up calls it gaslighting and says it's harmful to him and his childhood. Like one of the most aggressive, angry fucking guys I've ever seen. It's wild.
What's
dude.
His name?
God, I don't. Hang on, no. Because Big Joel, who I have a mixed relationship with his critiques sometimes, he's gotten a little more bitter and mean over the past couple years, but still there's so Big Joel has Nebula exclusive content, and there's one where he watched this video with a friend of his, and they just talk about like this video is genuinely insane. And as they dig deeper into it, Gaming Magic 13, that's the guy. That's the guy.
That just sounds like one of those.
He said Toy Story 4 ruined everything. And they sit there and they just comment on this video for like an hour and 10 minutes. But it's so dense with stuff, they only get through like half an hour of the video. And then the guy, he's like, honestly, I would love to talk to this guy about this. And the dude actually reached out to him and took Big Joel's response as a personal attack on him, and was talking about like, why would you laugh at me saying that I was being gaslit? I don't think that's good. I think that's ableist. I think that's fucking diminishing. And he's like, I think it's, and Big Joel's like, I think it's disrespectful to people who are actually abused in relationships to use gaslighting to referring to like the fact that in this movie there's a driveway on the side of the house that wasn't there in a previous movie, and acting like the fact that they just made that change was an intentional attempt by the filmmakers to emotionally abuse you. Like, I don't think that that's a fair thing. And he's like, well, what if it was actually harmful to me, huh? Like, what if it was? What if you're actually like diminishing? It's mind-blowing. It's fucking insane. It's
I
Yeah,
swear to God, I see someone spit, and I'm like, for the love of God, just go outside. Like this is where I turn into like the all the video game PSAs from the 90s. I was like, go outside,
touch
like
grass, you know, like
touch
just
grass,
go
do
outside,
anything
touch some grass.
useful.
No, but
Uh,
that's like I do not watch the original Gaming Magic 13 video if you unless you just want to cringe because
I got better things to
he
do with my time.
I know, but he'll say one thing and then he'll go on for 15 minutes about how shitty the Pixar creators are and how they think they're so smart and how they think they can just get one over on you and how this is abusive and like all this stuff. And like he'll just go on and on and on and on and on. And then I'll be like, and then there's this thing, but we'll get to that. Believe me, we'll get to that. And like, it's so fucking angry and he sounds like a fucking 15-year-old who thinks he's so fucking enlightened. And it's ridiculous.
That's what I
Um,
hate about modern day YouTube culture.
yeah, and Big Joel really, really attempts to actually have a conversation with him. And over the course of this 1 hour and 56 minutes, you get to see him just try and try and try. And this dude just being deliberately antagonistic and shitty to him. And it's really incredible. It's really incredible. It's a really frustrating but astonishing piece of media.
I'm good. I don't need that.
Oh, I don't even remember how we got on this in the first place, but something about just like film. Oh yeah, that line, crossing that line where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, this is not okay. Filmmakers, like continuity in filmmakers, and like trying to just abuse us and not respect the source material and da 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 da. And me
Stuff that doesn't
personally,
actually
I think Toy
matter
Story
in film
4.
analysis.
Well, I think Toy Story 4 is better than Toy Story 3. So, I know a lot of people have a huge boner for Toy Story 3, but I just do not. We talked about that in our video.
Yeah,
About
like both those movies are over 5 years old. I'm on the let's move on camp.
yeah, sure.
Uh,
But this was just a weird experience that I haven't had anyone to talk to about. So I just figured you'd understand being
oh,
part
I
of
understand way
the
too well.
terminally online discourse. Just
Like those people, like even I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm like, guys, Twitter is not real life. For the love of God, talk to another human being outside of the internet.
yeah, you can definitely see the people who are like too online.
Oh yeah, I blocked many of those people.
Oh yeah, no, block everybody who's even mildly annoying to you. Just be
And
liberal about it. Just fucking block, 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 block.
oh
I
yeah,
block people just because I don't want to see their shit come up on my timeline. I'll mute them, but if like someone I follow will actually like comment on one of their things or something, and it'll pop back up, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna block J.K. Rowling because I don't want to see any of her
yeah,
bullshit on my
fuck her.
timeline, no matter what.
Yeah. It's
It's
like
fine.
there's a weird Venn diagram, especially lately, that I've noticed
Mm.
is that if somebody gets really pissy about my mouse video for whatever reason, usually it's anti-Semitism.
I mean, I don't
Um,
see another reason to get pissy about it.
yeah,
Bigotry.
it's been more open than it used to be. I'll say that much.
Well, yeah, between Kanye West and Donald Trump, it's really just come into vogue
It
again.
really has. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's funny because the people that get really pissed and like that the one that I go through different comment threads on that one responds to all of them because they just like have such a rage boner.
Oh,
Um,
good.
they will almost always, without fail, go through our videos and comment on two specific reviews every time. And it is always Thor Love and Thunder and The Woman King. Without fail. It's always those two. It's so weirred.
The Woman King's relatively recent.
Yeah, I mean, so is
It's
Thor
just
Love and
been
Thunder.
happening.
Like this has been happening fairly often because it's in those rage circles.
Look, can you I know that you're deleting these things for the sake of like curating your channel and keeping them safe, but can you like just send me screenshots of these sometimes when they happen before you delete them? Because I'm really curious
If it happens
about
again,
the
I'll let you
level
know.
of idiocy. Like just like some of the more bewildering, entertaining ones. The standard milquetoast racism is just, dime a dozen. In any case, Avatar 2 is
I just had to bring that up because it's such a weird, like almost like a social study in a way. I'm
no, I
just
know.
like,
I just know that I derailed this long enough, and I don't want to take this further down a rabbit hole.
fair enough. We do got
No,
to wrap it up
I'm
pretty soon.
sorry. Like I did not like Toy Story 3. Avatar 2.
So Avatar 2, yes.
The act one is just getting you introduced to like the characters and getting to know the kids a little bit and understanding the dynamic and seeing where things stand now with the planet and all that. Act two is, oh, we have discovered this new fucking biosphere on this planet. And James Cameron's been wanting to do this for a long time. Like I remember articles like, oh, this is coming in 2014. Like And immediately after Avatar came out, he was talking about how the next one would be in the ocean.
Mhm.
Because he wanted to do more about the different imaginary biospheres. Because one thing that James Cameron does with this stuff is dig super deep into it. Like, I remember one of the coolest things about the first Avatar in my mind was finding out more about the behind the scenes stuff and understanding that each of these alien creatures is like designed in a specific way. Like a lot of these creatures that you see, they have gone through the effort to design their muscle structure underneath their skin and how their digestive system works and their air pathways and their relationships to other animals in the ecosystem. Like, dude created seriously an imaginary biome in
Yeah.
its entirety. Like, from the plant life and the purposes that they serve to which animals eat that to which animals feed on those animals, like he really went in depth with his team to make sure that this was that fucking neurotic. And he did the same thing with the ocean.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool. It's not something that you really see a lot of come through in the film,
Yeah.
but everything makes sense in how it exists in this world. And
Yeah.
the fact that they went through all the trouble to do all this stuff behind the scenes to make sure that it's reinforced properly and has a logical through line, I appreciate that level of fucking like nerd obsession with this stuff, you know?
What you're
So
telling me is this is the world's most expensive D&D set.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
And I would love like
Get the avatar module. It might as well exist.
I mean honestly like I would love I would love if we had an Avatar video game which had multiple modes. Like one of them would just be like the action mode where you play through the plot and you go do the crazy action pieces and run off, and there's combat mechanics and stealth mechanics and like the idea of sneaking onto the human bases and just murdering all the people so they stop taking your unobtainium and all that shit.
Yeah.
But you know, best named imaginary substance ever. It's hard to get. What do we call it? But uh, but then on the other side, you have like the scientist path where you are basically just like a biologist exploring this planet and trying to understand how things connect to each other. And it would basically serve as like sort of a cross between No Man's Sky and Pokemon, where, where you would just be exploring these giant fucking wildernesses and just like what was it? Endless Ocean, that Wii game or something, that Nintendo game that came out a long time ago, and it was literally just swimming in an ocean full of hundreds of like sea creatures. Um, Stuff like that. Like I would love to have something where they would showcase the depth that they went into about how to design the wildlife and the nature of this alien planet. Like I would love to see more about that, but it's not going to happen.
No,
It's
probably
just
not.
there. You know, it's there, it's cool, look at it, enjoy it, but just know that that much work went into this shit. And I think that really heightens the appreciation of it.
Okay. I think I'm people starting to rise. We got to wrap this up.
God damn it. Okay, and then act 3 is the trademark fucking James Cameron still knows how to fucking kill it when it comes to action sequences. The last hour of this movie is basically an action sequence, and it fucking slaps. It is so good.
Awesome. Yep.
So you have the intro where you're like, all right, you have some of my patience, and then you have the second act where you're like, oh, with some
questionable choices.
Yeah, okay. Let's before we run out of time, let's quickly touch on the way that tension is expressed in this film, because there's a certain point where, and this is something that's discussed in films a lot, where we talk about misery in films to heighten tension. How do we portray this stuff? And the thing that bothered me about here was that in the first Avatar, to the extent of my recollection, mostly it was like kind of like drone bombing. It was like, it wasn't personal, it wasn't on the ground in your face. It was more like just military devastation, right? which is fucked up in larger scale. But in this movie, we get one scene in particular,
Yeah.
which is it reminds me of specifically like scenes in like Vietnam movies
Yeah.
where you have a really cold, brutal, heartless military squad going into a village that genuinely has no idea what they're talking about and just very personally uh hurting them, like up close and personal, talking to them, torturing them, shocking them, burning down their houses, killing their animals in front of them. Like it's all CG, but it's really fucked up and it
Yeah.
feels emotionally distressing in a way that I was not comfortable with.
But yeah, I think that's completely valid.
And another one of those is the whale hunting sequence. And I
Yeah.
know that this was something where I understand James Cameron wants to really convey how inhumane things like whale hunting are, because this is something that happens. This is the way that whale hunting happens on our planet. We have things like shark hunting, where for shark fin soup
Yeah.
in, I think, China specifically, they will take, they will go into the ocean, they will capture a shark, they will cut off its fins, and they will throw it back into the ocean still alive and just let it bleed out and die on its own, which is horrifying. There's plenty of other good meat that you can use from the shark, you know, like you can use more of the animal, but they just, in the most inhumane way, they will frighten it, they will torture it, and they will take the one part they want and leave the rest. And down to the point where they, you know, they kill the children of these creatures. And there's a sequence in this movie that just lasted way too fucking long for me. And it's a particular whale hunting sequence.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And yeah, they make extra effort to make sure that you have an emotional connection to this whale. And then they fucking horribly prolonged. It's a prolonged sequence where they horribly fucking hurt it and kill it. And like it's intentionally to fuck you up, but it felt a little excessive.
Yeah. Also
Like,
led by the most Australian man that ever Australian.
oh, of course, you got to have like the heartless Australian being like, hey, I'm a sadist. Oh, like they're hard to kill though. We're gonna kill them. It's but yeah, I those are really the two sequences in the movie that bothered me the most.
Which I think are completely valid. Because they definitely are the ones that go through great effort to elevate suffering for the sake of suffering.
Yeah. And I think they could have cut those down a little bit more. I think I texted you in the middle of the movie. I was like, can I just have like a version of this movie that has all that stuff cut out and is just like the wild-eyed wonder at the beautiful fucking alien world? Can we just get that? Like
The funny part about because you were texting me throughout this entire film, while you were watching it, and you kept giving me like, well, that's stupid. Well, that's like that's dumb. This is terrible. That's awful. And they were like, I liked it fine. At the
well,
end
I'm
of
not texting you during the parts I enjoy, Michael. I'm busy enjoying the movie.
know, when you read it out, it just
Oh
looks.
yeah, when I read it out, it's great. It's hilarious. But that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of dumb shit movie and stuff in this movie, but overall, it's definitely really, really enjoyable.
Like I've heard this movie called described as kind of a himbo, and I don't disagree with that analysis.
Sure.
Which is like it's really pretty to look at, and you'll have a good time while you're with them. Just don't expect to have anything deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
And like yeah, it's pretty much as preachy as the first one, but also like there are worse things to preach. So,
I'm looking at this and I'm like, they're being mean to the whales. Sad face. No, this is upsetting. Can I get an edit of this that's just wide-eyed wonder at nature with all the excessive cruelty cut out? Oh, baby whale, no! All of these humans better die horribly, which they did.
bro. Yeah.
You know, I mean, is that a spoiler, really? They
I
make
don't
it very
think
clear that they're setting up these people to be murdered, and you know, it's
Whale Bro's gonna help. You know,
well, yeah, you know, and dude, when Whale Bro came in clutch, that was that was I was like, yeah.
to provide some context why we called him Whale Bro, it's because there's one whale in particular that's supposed to be like an outcast that one of Jake Sully's son makes a connection with. And
Yeah.
from the moment like they pop up on screen, they start like communicating through sign language. My first thought was like, "Sup, bro?"
Hey, bro. Oh yeah, the fucking kids in this movie say "bro" a lot. It's really weird.
But
Like,
no, I could imagine the whale just kind of responding back that way, like, "Are you here? Sup, bro? You want to hang?" And
yeah,
then towards the end, he like what sets the whale off to go into killer mode is when he sees like his friend being tied up on the railing of this battleship. So he goes like into full rage mode underwater, he's crashing into shit and he's
it's
bashing his
so
stuff.
good.
And then he comes out like, "Get your hands off my bro!"
Dude, these whales have tattoos.
Forgot about
How do
that.
the whales all know sign language? What is this? No, it was really funny. But like, I think the thing that speaks to it is there are large, like 20, 30-minute spans where I didn't say shit to you,
That
which
is
was where I
true.
was just having a good time with the movie. So, you
Yeah.
know, that's good.
Anyway, so
Overall,
yeah,
honestly, seriously, even with all my grievances with it, 9 out of 10 for me. Like, I
I give it
fucking
a
love
solid
it.
like 7 overall. Just in, like so, like take it for what you will. It's one of those
In
things like
terms
I
of
feel
my
like
personal enjoyment of it. In terms of actual quality of like writing,
yeah,
definitely like a 6 or a 7.
yeah,
But I think the sum of the parts for me definitely bring it up to like,
sure, and I think that's totally
yeah.
valid. And I think if you're gonna see a sequel to Avatar, I feel like you kind of already have an expectation of how it's gonna go, and it's gonna be largely accurate,
Yeah.
with like maybe some exceptions, and it's still gonna make all the money. It already is making all the money.
What was it? I
Uh,
think what was it, Matt? I was just searching for things about Avatar, and of course, YouTube having its fucking algorithms where I can't just block channels that I never want to fucking see.
yeah, it's one of those
Uh,
obnoxious like this, like, oh, look at this tanking SJW, blah 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 blah.
no, dude, Matt Walsh was like, Avatar 2 was already a flop after racism allegations. And I'm like, dude, it made like $150 million opening weekend. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's
Like,
whatever
that's
fuels the narrative.
it is in no way a flop. It is already most of the way to $1 billion.
Story past a billion.
I mean, in the first opening weekend,
Oh
with the
yeah,
few days after it since, first week, it's past $1 billion. Like, this movie just made unfathomable bank. No pun intended.
yeah.
Like, yeah, no, it's a spectacle. You got to see it. Go see it on the biggest, best screen you can see. It's worth it. It's an event. You don't get movies like this very often. It's totally worth seeing in the big screen. Regardless of how you feel about the plot, like, pretty. Like, just go. Just, it's worth it.
All right, so I think it's all we got for Avatar 2 after a lot of tangents.
Yeah, of course.
But
I mean, hey, it was a fun conversation, right?
it was fine. I had a great time.
Yeah,
But we're still got a lot of movies I'm trying to catch up on. I'm gonna do the
still got
best
us some
I
Human
can.
Centipede.
Okay, we're gonna wrap
The
up
whole
there.
trilogy. No, dude, I have the movie Centipede.
I'm aware you are.
I have it on Blu-ray. It's right here. It's
I know
next
you
to me.
do.
You
All
just have
right,
to come over.
bye everybody.